In case you missed it, there was a tragic shooting in Chicago's West Pullman neighborhood. It left one dead and a mother and son arrested. Let's talk about it.
Brotha T.
How you doing? This is Terry Wilson, aka yo boy Brotha T, here with another one. So we like to thank you and welcome to the New Life Tree, where we like to give you little pine cones of wisdom for your motivation and mental health. If you don't know what that is, stick around, stay on the channel, you'll get it. So today we're going to talk about the tragic shooting that left one dead and a mother and son arrested on Chicago's West Pullman neighborhood. All right, so what happened in this situation? How did a person end up dead? Carlishia Hood, who is the mother, she decides to get some food from Maxwell's, right? and I'm guessing this is like a hot dog stand, something like that. So she pulls up a little bit after 11 p.m. with her son in the car, her 14-year-old son. She leaves the son in the car and her handgun. She is licensed to carry, just in case you had that question. She went into the restaurant unarmed though. Now, there's a lot of stuff that happened in between the actual events that occurred that we don't know about, because for some reason we just don't have that footage and nobody's really telling the whole story as of yet. However, at some point somebody decides to take a video of part of the confrontation towards the end, where the person who ends up getting shot, Jeremy Brown, was arguing with Carlishia Hood. Now, it escalated to a point where Jeremy Brown was threatening to do bodily harm to Carlishia Hood. Let's take a look at a little video, a little snippet of the video. I'm not going to show the actual, her getting hit, but I'm going to show you a couple of seconds right up until that point.
Get your food! Woo! Get the gun! Hey! Get your food! Get your food! If you say one more thing, I'm gonna knock you out. Oh my God, I'll say one more thing, I'm gonna knock you out.
Her son reportedly shot him in the back, correct? Now, Jeremy Brown attempts to leave. He's running out, and the son shoots him multiple times in the back after the fact. Now, those are some of the facts of the case. At this point, we're going to ask a couple of questions and we're going to answer them. Well, I'm going to answer them in my way, from my point of view. If you differ from my point of view, I have no problem with that. Respectfully, I will just disagree with you, but this is just from my point of view, because sometimes we want to take sides, but we take the side of the person who we identify with instead of just looking at the facts in the case. So let's get started. So first question that we have: could Carlishia have prevented the incident? The answer is yes. At some point, and a lot of you young ladies out there need to understand, when you get into especially a verbal altercation with a man, you have to be situationally aware. You have to know that you don't have the physical brute strength to contend with a man, not on average, right? Like Ronda Rousey can probably whoop some men, somebody like that, or somebody, you get what I'm saying. But like Layla Ali, I'm sure she can lace a few good guys out if she really wanted to. But on average, you're not going to get the average woman, physically holding her own against a grown man. So sometimes you just gotta let it go. When he told you not to say anything else, this is not me telling you, putting you in a bad position or telling you that you have to be lesser than somebody else. I'm just saying you have to do what you have to do in order to survive. So there are times where you just have to remove yourself from the situation. Actually, I think you should have started walking out. That would have prevented it, or just not saying anything after he said that could have prevented some stuff. Now, don't attack me. This is my opinion, and I know it's fact that when guys get like that, he was pulling a power move on you. He was trying to have power over you. Let him think he has the power in that moment, and it could be prevented. This opinion is not going to be popular either, but you could have also prevented it by not getting food after 11 o'clock, being, a 30-year-old woman. Okay, here we go. So, Brotha T, are you saying that women can't do things at night? No, I'm not saying that. But you have to be situationally aware. You have to know where you're at. You're on Chicago. You're on the West Pullman part of Chicago, who at the time, around that time, had a lot of violent shootings. So stuff is going down. You know the neighborhood you're in. You know what's going around. Don't do that. Hey, order DoorDash. I don't know if they do DoorDash. Just pay the extra $10 and order DoorDash. Let that guy that's picking up the DoorDash take that risk, right? Here we go. Let's go to the next question. Was the son right for what he did? The answer is yes. He was right in defending his mother. We don't know what damage Jeremy Brown was about to do. He put hands on her. I think he hit her 2 or 3 times. We don't know after that if he was going to continue to assault her, stomp on her. We don't know if he would have shot her when she got to the ground. We don't know that. So being the son in the son's shoes with a weapon to protect both of them, I cannot blame the son for what he did one bit. Actually, he did the right thing. Let's go to the next question. Why didn't anybody help? So this is a very complicated question. Now you're going to hear some ladies, they're going to say that, oh man, those men are weak. And I feel it's kind of sad that the men didn't jump in. Let me explain something to you. Men, these last few years especially, but even for the last couple of decades, men have been told over and over again that we're not this, we're not that, we're not good enough for this, we're not good enough for that. Now we can't even be a bus driver and date you. We have been going on and on for the last few decades being told that we're not good enough and that we'll never be good enough. Also, there's a certain climate being forged with the feminists in front. Ooh, I said the F word. But they are in front telling us that women can do everything we can do and that men you don't need us in any way.
That abortion is something that Black women should be considering when it comes to giving birth to these men. A lot of people are looking at it as if it's something horrible, that is genocidal. But at this point, it literally is connected to your survival. Even think about giving birth to someone that is the seed of a demon.
These men aren't serving any purpose. They're harming you. They're leaving you single mothers. They're wreaking havoc in the community. The logical decision then would be to control how many of them are here. That's called logic.
Now, you can't play both sides of the fence. If you're going to play on that team saying that men are useless and you don't need us, when you get into a heavy situation, now you're looking for us as if you need us. I'm not saying this out of anger. I'm not saying this out of spite. I'm just telling you what the sentiment is. That's why men, even older men, are like, well, I'm not getting in it, because if I get in it and something happens to me, then you get to go about your life. You get to go have fun. I'm dead. My people are, sad. You're celebrating over here. You get to live your life. I put my life on the line for you and I got nothing out of it. There are some content creators, I think Greg Adams even calls it death by simp. When you try to jump in for somebody else, you get your life taken, and then that person goes off to party. So we have to keep that in mind when we make those statements. We are living in a different world now. You're going to get times where people are going to step up and they're going to try to do something, but somebody in that position could have definitely got themselves killed. And where would they be right now? We would just be saying, well, that was kind of sad, but that was heroic. All right, next. I mean, this really happens. Let's go to the next question. So before we get to the last question, I have to mention that the charges were dropped by the DA, and Carlishia announced that she is filing a lawsuit.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Attorney Brandon Brown. That's Brandon. Last name Brown, Brown. This morning, we filed a 4-count complaint on behalf of Carlishia Hood. This complaint is being filed against the city of Chicago and the defendant officers who were responsible for her arrest. The complaint contains counts of malicious prosecution, false arrest, and intentional infliction of emotional distress.
Announced that she is filing a lawsuit against, the city. Very interesting. But the next question is her lawsuit valid? For me, this answer will be no. Let me explain. Even though I do agree that it was in self-defense, the shooting, to put ourselves in law enforcement's shoes for a second, you have to understand when something like that happens, the usual procedure should be to detain the shooters until you straighten out what went on. Now, they did detain them. They decided to drop the charges. They charged them, then they decided to drop the charges. I think that was the right procedure. I don't think that is a valid lawsuit. If I was on the jury, I couldn't possibly rule against the city in that case, because I think they did the right thing. Let's say the same situation occurs, but let's say they meant to shoot him. Let's say they wanted to shoot him before the argument even started. Now, if you don't detain them immediately, you're letting a situation. You could possibly be letting murderers leave, right? And then they can flee. They can do all types of stuff. They can hide evidence. They can, maybe even intimidate witnesses, potentially, stuff like that. So I think they were on the right path by detaining until they got enough evidence to either, go forward with the charges or not. And they did not find enough to, make the charges stick. Let's go to the next question. Did the shooting victim deserve to be shot in the back? The answer, in my opinion, is absolutely yes, because he was totally in the wrong for his part in it. Now, we don't know what happened before we got to that part of the video that we showed. We don't know what the argument was about. We don't know if he had a valid argument against her at first, but at some point, as soon as he balled his fist up, now it becomes a dangerous situation. So if someone believes that you're going to do great bodily harm to their loved one and they're standing there and they can stop you at that moment, I think they're well within their rights to make sure they use enough available force to stop you from doing that bodily harm. When you were running out, we're talking about Jeremy Brown here, and he shot you again. Once again, I don't think they're in the wrong there, because we don't know if you were going to get another gun. We don't know if you were going to get somebody to come retaliate against them. We don't know what's going to happen in that moment. So at that moment, you are still a threat. Even though you're running with a bullet wound, we don't know what's about to happen. They had a right to defend themselves up until that threat was absolutely neutralized. So I believe it or not, I believe that her son did an actual great job of protecting him and his mother, his mother more than in the situation at that moment. Now, the last question. Did she do anything wrong? Okay, so this is a part where I'm going to get a lot of people that disagree with me, I'm sure. To me, in my opinion, she did two things wrong. One thing she did wrong is when I actually kind of touched on it earlier, but being situationally aware and knowing that you're not finna physically handle yourself against this grown man. You're 30 something, he's 30 something, he's fully developed, you know, he's just stronger than you in that moment. You don't have any help in there, at least at the moment. That's a situation where you don't want to argue. You don't want to keep talking. If they say stop talking, then stop talking. Now you can stop talking and remove yourself from the whole situation, or you can just stop talking until you get your food. But at that moment, I think you made or you fostered a situation where it can get out of hand. And guess what? It got out of hand. Now, what was the second thing that she did wrong? The second thing she did wrong was at the end, and I mentioned this as well, she was trying to get her son to go shoot somebody else in the store. Actually, that would have ended up being a murder charge right there. So you should thank your son for taking the gun away from you and getting in the car. So those are the two things I believe that she did wrong in that situation. Overall, it's a tragic situation. Nobody wins in this situation. Nobody wins, because the 14-year-old has to live with the death of another human being on their conscience. They weren't at that moment in time. You know, you don't picture yourself having to take somebody's life, being forced to take somebody's life to save one of your loved ones. Also, you're not supposed to, you know, live life knowing that somebody can do possible great bodily harm to your loved one. That's also crazy as well. You don't want to go through life thinking about this can happen, right? So he lost. Carlishia lost because she got brutally attacked. She could have got killed that day. So she has to live with that terrible memory as well. She can't win in this situation. Jeremy Brown doesn't win in the situation because he's deceased, right? He was making a bad decision. In my opinion, he just woke up that morning ready to fight somebody. And that wasn't the first time he hit a woman, because he didn't hesitate. So I have no problems believing that he beat his girlfriend, wife, or whoever, right? I have no problems believing that he's just a person that just wanted to hit a woman that day. And that's just what it is. Nobody wins. So his family has to live with the fact that they lost their loved one as well. All around tragedy. I think the right decision was made to drop the charges and not to go along with the case. I believe that the city did the right thing in that moment. I don't think the lawsuit is valid. However, we don't know how these things are going to play out. They could give them a settlement just so it won't go to trial, or they could go to trial and the family can end up with no money. Family can end up with millions. I don't know what's going to happen, but these are my opinions. Don't judge me. If you disagree with me, that's cool. Go to the comment section, leave whatever comment you can, as long as you're respectful about it. This is your man, Terrion Wilson, aka Brotha T. I will return with something hot next time. Hopefully it won't be as tragic as this one. Peace. Check you out.